Welcome to the Crazy Agent Dinner Party. Part group therapy, part inspiration, entirely for real estate agents to dish on this crazy business we're in. And remember, real estate is crazy, and you don't have to be. Welcome to the Crazy Agent Dinner Party, where we dish on this crazy industry known as real estate. Here are your hostesses with the mostesses, a combined 40 plus years in real estate, Coach Konversion Kourtney, and the real estate mom you never knew you needed, Amanda, the marketing mama. On today's menu, we're dishing up Death Battle Royale. Co-agents you want to kill.
Oh, Jenny.
Oh, I love the way she said that.
I know. And we're gathered here in our black today for that funeral of that agent you want to kill. Just kidding. We just look cute in black. But seriously, how was your week, guys? You want to kill an agent or four? I get it. That's why we're here today. We're going to do a little bit of group therapy, a lot of inspiration, and hopefully help you guys sell more real estate and have way more fun doing it. So the co-agent you want to kill for starters, Kourtney.
Let's talk.
I know
about
that's happened
this.
to you. I've seen a couple of scathing texts.
Let's talk about this.
I think that this is super important to talk about because we all feel this way, and you need to have a buddy to turn to instead of your client about this. For starters, let's just go there because you're not gonna get along with everybody. I wish you would. We should. You can, but literally, don't bring that beef into the deal.
Yeah, and don't you think this is so important? Why it's important to have a buyer's agent and a seller's agent, and to have an agent who's experienced, who doesn't get emotionally involved, right? Because I have worked with agents, and what's the number one line where it's like, oh gosh, I do not.
I've been doing this for 21 years.
I never say that jokingly, right?
Yeah.
I've never used that line I know more than the other agent.
The minute I hear that, I just want to be click.
Than the other agent. Yeah.
That's a phone. That's how long I've been doing it. They had phones back then like that.
And I almost even think some of the newer agents who may not be as experienced have more drive, more willing to do whatever it takes to make it happen.
Yeah, or when I hear that, I'm and so for 21 years you've been an asshole? Because literally, who cares? I don't give a crap. You're just acting like a dick right now. So I don't say that. I do it in my mind. I do say that in my mind, not going to lie. But no,
So I did have an agent say, texted me that...
you sent it to me. She's like, I have never... In my, she was 28 years or something like that.
No, I had her more. I had more years on her.
Oh, that was right. That was a different one. Okay, so this one, you had 24. She had 20 or 18, I think. Something crazy. But I was like, oh, that's a little persnickety. Look at her getting all sassy.
So she started it, right?
They always do.
I just came back and I was like, in my 24 years experience, I never had the listing agent reach out to the buyer's lender and get a clear to close before I even knew about it, or before the buyer even knew about it. And she was friends with the lender. And so I was like, whoa, this is two separate, yes, they need to have communication and that's okay. However, for her to find out clear to close before I find out as a buyer's agent for clear to close, I'm like, no, we're not doing that.
Well, she called him. What was he going to be like? No, we don't have a clear to close. I got to tell Kourtney first. I guess if you look at everything objectively.
No, well, it was the lender who called that agent first.
Oh, well then, maybe be mad at the lender, not that agent. But still.
It was I've been doing this for so many years, right?
So you're already starting out the transaction, okay, here we go.
And here's what I do too. It's if the other agent pulls that card, or if they feel like they are more experienced, more knowledgeable, whatever than me, then I gotta stay cool, stay collective.
I hope you know what I
love.
Love being around people that are more knowledgeable than me because that means that I'm going to learn more, right?
Yeah.
That's the way that you have to look at it. I don't know everything, and guess what, y'all? You're never going to know everything. That's the number one thing that I tell every brand new agent, or even an agent who's just worn out from the industry. You're never going to know all the things, and that's okay because guess what? We talk about this constantly. There's so many variables. It's infinite variables because the number one variable is people, and they're all different. Every single transaction is different.
That includes agents.
And agents are all different. And honestly, an agent is different on one transaction than they would be on another one because we're human and we got crap going on, right? So when I get a text like that, I've been doing it, whatever. I am I'm not doing this BS. I call. And hopefully they answer because I don't want to get rough, but I want to squash any bad juju immediately. And I always start with killing them with kindness. It's never worked. They're still alive. No, I'm just kidding. But no, seriously, I always do try to call first and be like, hey, like that, maybe that text came off wrong. And it's so funny. So I used to do this with anybody in the transaction. So there's this one title person, and she works for an attorney, and I won't say a name, and I'm not going to tell you what it rhymes with, but she was kind of like known for being like a little sourpuss, right? And one of my agents was just like, oh God, she's just so cranky. But I just called her. I'm like, hey, I wanted to just kind of go over this email and talk about blah, 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 and just make sure that we're all on the same page. And she just was so relieved to have somebody talk to her like a human being. She immediately changed her entire, she was a bit of a sourpuss, not going to lie. But she changed. You could tell. She's like, man, that's nice. Thank you for taking the time to like talk about it like a human being. But I think sometimes people, agents especially, get caught up in this whole me versus you business of it all, because
it's not about that, right?
It's not.
You're
It is a negotiation.
the buyer and the seller,
right? It's not a death battle royale. Number one, I love when they pretend that it is. It is actually, like I said, my negotiation tactic is a tightrope walk. I really do believe it. It's a give and take, because again, if we both go nuts, we're both going to fall off, and even if one person goes nuts, you both could fall off, because it's really that delicate. A lot of times, especially in a market as volatile as this one has been lately with the crazy rates and all that good stuff. And so understanding that you can't be nuts on a tightrope, you gotta keep your cool on a tightrope, right? I don't know how they do it. I'm just sweating thinking about it. But like, really, it's a little bit of a give and take, and it is not personal. Although we love winning, obviously. I love winning. I love winning negotiations. It's one of my most favorite things. But it's not your battle. It's you're representing somebody's best interest, and you know what they need and what they want, and that's what your focus should be on. Not whether or not somebody was sassy, because they might be, or whether or not they sent you a text telling you about how they've never, because it doesn't matter.
Yeah, and really, like, I love the fact that you talked about text messaging, right? Or emails, and picking up the phone call, even a conversation could be construed like the other person takes it differently than what you're meant for it. So, especially on a text message or on an email, it's not, I don't think even like ever, it's how you send the text and what you mean to say on that text. It's how the person reads it and how the person reacts to it. And so I think text messaging and emails are so difficult to be able to get a point across.
Well, yeah, you shouldn't want to, I think, fight anything in a text or an email, because again, you're talking, it's one-sided. It's not it's not communication. It's just talking at versus like working together to solve that greater good.
Yeah, and that's part of negotiations, right? Like, could you imagine when we first started real estate, just even thinking that negotiations could happen over text messaging? Like, that really never even crossed my mind. When I first started, like, cell phones had just come out.
Yeah, exactly.
Text messages weren't a thing.
Well, and I was so, like, dumbfounded when people started using text professionally. I'm like, what's going on here? But now I'm like, oh, please never call me. Just text me all the time, which is so funny and like ironic, unless there's a problem. And then, let's talk it out. Let's go mano a mano. So it's so funny. One of my agents one time, the listing agent, there was something wrong with the property, and it was just like, it was ferns. This is Will, who I love working with. There was ferns touching the house, and they needed to be away from the house in order for the buyer's financing to get approved or whatever.
Oh, that's interesting.
And literally, he was like, Amanda, I've just asked this agent like 27 times to just help out here. And she is like, okay, well, I'm at the beach or I'm at a concert. And I'm like, well, just go over there and cut the dang ferns back. You know, sometimes it's frustrating when the other agent isn't willing to go above and beyond, but that's not everybody's MO, sadly. If everybody was above and beyond, then you wouldn't be so special, Will, and you totally are, right?
Yeah, and I think it's part of like how we represent our clients, right? And how we show up. I would cut the ferns down, right? Like, because that's how I show up for my clients.
Correct.
And so if the other agent isn't showing up for the clients or is as passionate as the
it's going to
deal
take you more time trying to track her down than it is to actually go there and cut the dang ferns down. Exactly.
And so again, that's taking it not personal, right? Like, my job is to represent my client. What am I going to do to get it done?
What is standing in the way of this closing? Okay, well then I will move whatever mountain.
Because it's not her, because she won't cut it down. It's me, because I'm not taking ownership of it and representing my client.
Yes, there's that. Exactly. So have you ever had somebody that just comes in guns blazing from the minute, the instant clip? Besides that, I've been in the business for a long time.
Yeah, I actually had another deal, and by the end of the transaction, we were like good friends.
Oh, good.
Meeting for coffee, and so.
Ooh, you turned him or her. I'm assuming it's a him. Who knows? You turned them around. How about that?
And it was like over a phone conversation about, we're not doing post closing occupancy. We're not doing this. We're not doing that. And I'm like, here's the deal. My buyer wants to buy the house. We are going to get to closing. And if you trust me, we wrote a solid offer. And if you trust me to get us to closing, you'll accept my offer. And that was it. Like that was, and I was confident that we're going to get to closing. And then after that, he was like, no words. And then we became friends, right? Like, so it's important for us to stand our ground in what we believe in to help represent our clients and be confident with that. Because in this situation, I had to. If it was somebody who wasn't confident, he would have just rolled right over him. Like it just would have happened that way.
Exactly. And guess what? Sometimes there's more to it than just whatever they answered with. So I had somebody coming in hot. So we made an offer with a client last fall, I guess, and it was considerably lower than what the purchase price was, but there weren't any comps to substantiate. It was like 84,000 over value or like over market value. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, so, and I called her to discuss what comp she used to list it at that price. Cause I'm like, maybe I'm missing something. She was in a different MLS. Her main MLS was a different MLS than my MLS, which is actually very common in Central Florida, believe it or not. And so I thought, well, maybe you have something there that I'm not seeing and I don't see it on public record, blah, 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 RPR, all that good stuff. And so I did a lot of due diligence first. There was no other comp, I knew that. But either way, I tried to give them the benefit of the doubt, right? And so I called her and again, very friendly, blah, 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 talking about this offer that was, again, I think we were like 85 under, 84, 85. She's like, don't even bother. And I was like, oh, well, I can't not bother because this is the freaking house my buyers want. I'm bothering. We are going to be bothered and we're doing this. And so I actually put together the comps and just sort of reiterated what we had discussed on the phone and sent it over to her. And she actually called me and she was like, hey, I'm sorry. I was actually just with the seller when you called and he was giving me a really hard time about the amount of showings we have and I took that out on you. And it was really like such a great moment because you never know what kind of feedback that they're getting on their end. Like if she's gone through the ringer or he's gone through the ringer, you don't know what's going on in their life. I think, like you said, stay steadfast to your purpose, which is to do right by the person that you're representing and keep on course. And
keep on course.
If you want to blow your top to like your friend, guess what this person did? And we can laugh about it. But when it comes to the professional transaction, if you bring that negativity into it in any way, shape, or form, whether it's with title, the co-agent, just talking smack to your buyers about the nutso listing agent, you're truly doing everyone a disservice because when you work together to make it happen, it is such a better experience for everyone. Like you will definitely land that relationship for life, usually, if they have a great experience, right? They'll keep coming back.
I think like with your situation, I think it's important to present all the offers, right? Like as an agent, I don't ever make a decision without running it by my client. So if somebody's offering $85,000 less or whatever it is, send the offer, then I can have the conversation with the seller, and because I'm not making a decision on behalf of my seller.
Right.
And I think that's where a lot of the times agents do screw up is because they are making decisions on behalf of their seller without those conversations.
Well, unless you have had that. So like, for instance, a conversation that I have a lot with listing appointments is that, if there's a certain amount, a dollar amount that we're not going to go lower, like even waste their time with the offer. I do have that conversation because especially in Central Florida, at least, gosh, we're constantly getting these lowball offers from investors. But yes, I will have that conversation. And if you have that in your listing agreement and that's part of it, then you don't have to present it.
I would definitely say like make sure that's in writing and not just a conversation.
Correct. So it has to be in the listing agreement. Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. Same as like, you don't present any verbal offers. That's also in the listing agreement. That's actually written in our listing agreement as a checkbox that you can check. Or if you have offers, if you're under contract or you're accepting offers, you won't like to have those conversations ahead of time. But yeah, it always drives me nuts. Like when I'm negotiating with a co-agent and for instance, here's a good one. So the appraisal comes in low or whatever. And they immediately give you an answer. It's like, we just got the information like 45 seconds ago. How do you know that answer? Like, you haven't even talked to your person yet. And so that's really, like, to me, the biggest deal is that you really do need to, like, look at it from who you're representing and, like, actually kind of review the situation at hand and then make a decision based on data and not your emotions. Sometimes when that happens and the listing agent, like, refuses, which has happened before, to, you know, give you the comps that they used, they're feeling like badly because they comped it out wrong. Or again, appraisals are just opinions, so you could get a different appraisal. It could be a totally different
One person opinion.
I mean,
exactly
that's what's so
what I
nuts
say.
about it, right? And you're like, oh my gosh.
One person's opinion.
Don't you hate when that happens too? You're like, but you can't usually you can't get a second appraisal without like some big deal happening. So anyhow.
Yeah, the important piece of it, right, is like we're all in this together, and it's important to know that we represent our clients, and we are going to do whatever it takes to represent our clients as agents, right? But the biggest thing is not to get in the middle of it, because you have a buyer who wants to buy, a seller who wants to sell, and then as an agent, if they get in the middle of it to be right, then that's.
Do you want to be right or do you want to be paid?
and for a deal to die because of that.
Oh my gosh, because you're right or wrong, like it doesn't matter, right? Like let's just take a seat and like understand, know your role, stay in your lane, and really, 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 really work hard on being a good human, at least through the process. Maybe you don't want to work with them again. Maybe you've had experiences like that. Gosh, do you ever find a listing that they want to make an offer on and you see who the listing agent is and you're like, oh, yay. Great.
Be the agent that other people want to work with.
Oh, be the agent you want people to work with. Yes. I love working with those kind of agents.
An experience about an agent that you did enjoy working with.
And
it was
my
like a smooth
gosh.
transaction. I
So
almost
many.
feel like I have way more of those, which is awesome, right?
Yeah,
than
absolutely.
The agents that I would never do a deal
Guess
with
what?
again.
It's always with the agents that are no drama, because you should not have drama. This is not the clients alone are dramatic enough, and rightfully so, because it is a lot of money and there's a lot on the line. Seller, buyer, whoever it is, it's a lot on the line. It's like high stakes, right? The professionals should be professional. Say the drama for your mama, not this mama, but your own mama. Call her, not me talking about you've been doing it for so long. Me too, and like I've never had anybody act like that. So cut it out, right? So when somebody maybe goes around like that your lender and your friend did, do you convey that to the buyer? Do you convey that to the person?
So there is a fine line, right? Love your tightrope. There is a fine line on what I do convey to the buyer and what I do convey to the seller, because if it's important and imperative that they need to know, then I'll let them know. If it's something where I'm not getting caught up in their drama, then I won't let them know. And it's also like if I get information ahead of time and it could possibly change, I'm taking it in before I convey it to the buyer or the seller.
Well, it's such a great advice, because guess what? It usually does change. There usually is some semblance of an answer that can be found before the time that you telephone it over to your customer. It's just take a minute, take a breath, and like don't freak out. Really, that's really what it boils down to.
And I like to get things done right now in the moment, right? Like as realtors, we've got access to our phones or watches, whatever. So as the information comes across, I like to get it taken care of.
Well,
right
time
away.
is of the essence. It says that
is.
specifically in the contract. We get that, but time for you to like get some more information and then deal with it appropriately. Not like, oh, the sky is falling. The sky's super not falling.
What happens is like if we do convey that to the buyer or the seller, and it does end up changing, it first puts them in a panic, and our job is to hopefully help them keep their cool and not go into a panic. And if we give them the wrong information and then the information changes, they're not going to care. Who are they going to come back after? Who are they not going to be happy with?
The messenger.
The messenger,
which is
that
you,
would be us.
the little Looney Tune that went bananas instead of said, "Wait a minute, let me absorb. Let me just marinate on this for a minute and see how we're going to resolve this." A lot of the things do resolve on their own, and sometimes what I see. What happens is that something completely unknown will come up. There was one once where the agent had never been in a transaction before, where there was like 2 plots of land, but it was in one sale, and the buyers were not aware of it. That's a pretty big deal, and it should have been disclosed that way. I guess the listing agent wasn't aware of it either, but I'm like, this isn't the end of the world. There is a solution. We just have to, work together to figure it out. But it was like end of days. Like he was losing his top over this. And I'm like, this is actually relatively common, but also you're right. That listing agent should have known that prior to listing it. It actually should be listed in the MLS as this parcel and this parcel. But in that listing agent's mind, they had never had that before. They were thinking that it could get all done at the closing table through title at one fell swoop. And it does happen that way, or it can happen that way. But there's so much human involvement, in real estate. And if one human maybe does something that isn't necessarily above board or the right way or the way that maybe you would do it, doesn't necessarily mean it is like a whole panic attack situation. Sure.
I like that. I like that you said it may not be the way that we do it, right? Mm-hmm. Or what we expect.
Yeah, because 1 + 8 = 9, so does 4 + 5, so it's 9 + 0, so it's 6 + 3. There's so many ways to get to where you're going to. And so, again, be calm, be cool, be the agent that people want to work with. That's the icing on the cake. Be the agent that people want to work with. And in my opinion, I think you can go back and forth via text. I do believe that is a good way to communicate.
I think
that's
obviously
acceptable.
I think so too.
But if you're going back and forth more than 5 times and it's still contentious, pick up the phone. Reach out and touch someone that's how old I am. But yeah, call somebody and work it out, because that's your entire job. And don't let it be like the start of the death battle royale forever. The co-agent that you never want to work with, because if you're both good at your job, there might be maybe some competition there. You're going to be around each other in another transaction, and you should always want to play nice in the sandbox, right? Mm-hmm. Right? Yeah. You don't have to be everybody's best friend, but you can at least play nice in the sandbox. Yeah. Super duper important.
I feel like our focus is our clients, right? And so, yes, we are going to go to bat for our clients every single transaction, whether it's a buyer or a seller. And the other agent hopefully will do the same. Mm-hmm. And so it's about playing nice in the sandbox and while representing our clients.
Right. Don't be disparaging. Be a professional. Mm-hmm. Don't talk smack. Realize that everybody that you're in the transaction with will take on that personality. It's kind of like when you're having a bad day, right? You're going to pass that bad mood stick around to everybody, or you could just say, oh, it's okay, my coffee just spilled. That's just what happened. And I'm choosing to not let that be the rest of my day. Same thing in a transaction. Oh, they were just annoyed at the seller. I'm not going to let that be the rest of the transaction. We actually ended up having an amazing transaction after that. Like her so much, and she's been doing it a long time too. And that's what I'm talking about. You can turn, again, a bad moment into yeah, that was a little testy there. At least I know that you're willing to go to bat for your people, just like me. Just like me.
I would hope to see that happen,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
And then not hold any kind of grudge or judgment against the other person, because we are going to bat for our clients. Mm-hmm. And we want to keep up our professionalism. Mm-hmm. We want to keep it up as a high standard. Mm-hmm. And the only way to do that is to be passionate about it, right?
You have to be passionate, and you have to fight. But you also, I love working with an agent who is a little testy, maybe not crazy. I love learning how other people negotiate, and that's why this week's virtual weekly to-go box. This is such a great idea. This is Jenny's idea. We're actually going to do a quiz on what is your negotiation style. I wonder what y'all know. Mine. Remember, it is tightrope. I don't know if that's an actual style, but that's how I am. But yeah, we're going to put a quiz together for you guys. And so hopefully you'll take it.
That'll be great.
And it'll help you to interact with people that have maybe a different style that you do. Because remember, there's not one right way to do real estate, but there's a million wrong ways. Just remember, real estate is crazy.
And you don't have to be.
Woof, this market is rough. Real estate agents are out there working like dogs. Or maybe you're just feeling dog tired. Well, don't just sit and stay. Head on over to yourrealestateadvisory.com, a resource to help agents sell more real estate. Because we feel it's about time someone threw you a bone. And we're happy to announce the newest addition to our Conversation Starter Real Estate swag, dog bandanas. Powerful prospecting starts with conversations. So to help you in this dog-eat-dog world, we're arming you with the right tools. Various designs and various sizes for every precious pup. So you can let man's best friend become your best marketing tool. And agents, unless you're building relationships that build business, you're barking up the wrong tree. Because as it turns out, you actually can teach an old dog new tricks. So be a good boy or girl and head on over to yourrealestateadvisory.com, and you'll be on the road to selling more homes. Because remember, real estate is crazy, and you don't have to be.